Hi, and welcome to 3 Things in 3 Minutes. I'm Nersi. Today we're going to be talking about Brass, both Brass Lancashire and Brass Birmingham from Roxley Games. It plays 2 to 4 players and it takes about 2 to 3 hours to play. And this game is, at least Lancashire, is a updated new version of Mark Wallace's classic game Brass, and Birmingham is a sequel or an expansion in a way of sorts, but it is a separate release. And in both of these games, you are representing one of the titans of industry in the British Industrial Revolution. And throughout the course of the game, you'll be playing cards out of your hands to take actions, mainly to build or develop industries in particular cities around England, and then trying to link them together in an effort to get them to markets where other players will want them, or you would sell them to the game and Britain itself in general in an effort to get money or points. A few things I really like about this game: the game has, like the original, a very brilliant economy system. What you're trying to do is, throughout the course of the game, figure out what people are going to want, and the economy will evolve over time. So early on in the game, you'll have a bunch of industries available to you, but after time goes on, you'll find yourself fairly well focusing on some of them, and the game really brilliantly transitions you throughout the course of the Industrial Revolution. It goes from the early canal era, when iron is really important, to the later rail era, where coal becomes really important. It does that pretty seamlessly, and it does reward you for being a good business person, trying to anticipate what will become important to you and other players later in the game, so that you can have those items available to sell. And it if you're a fan of the original, Lancashire also includes some minor updates to the original, but you can play it as the original. It has enough pieces and even variants that were available online, so that you can play the game as it was originally played. A few things to consider about the game. The game's rules in general are pretty straightforward. The actions are fairly straightforward in terms of taking cards out of your hand and playing them. There are a number of small exceptions and rules that you need to remember, and they're not terribly well referenced in a few places. The player aids don't have a lot of information on them, and the board doesn't have a lot of reference either, so it would have been nice to have them in an easier to refer place rather than having to go back to the manual. Also, speaking of the board is pretty dark. I get that the Industrial Revolution itself was a pretty dirty time, but the between the darkness of the board and some of the tokens that you have to see and decide whether or not they're flipped over throughout the game, it just makes it hard to look at the board and decide in a glance what you can do. And finally, Birmingham is a separate game. It has some new industry tiles and a new board. It feels like more of an expansion rather than a full new release. But in summary, it is a very elegant, fascinating economic game that encourages you to be a good business person and coordinate with other players. The actions are simple, but some of them can be a little bit hard to remember, and some parts of the board are hard to see. Thank you so much for watching. Please comment and subscribe.